AITA for giving up on our marriage after my wife said she owed me no affection? I'm Julian, 39, and I had been married to Mira for 9 years when I finally realized I had been mistaking silence for peace. I was the husband who knew she preferred the smaller coffee mug on weekdays because the larger one made her coffee go cold before she finished it. I checked the porch light before bed. I kept a spare phone charger in the kitchen drawer because she misplaced hers at least twice a week. I handled the shared calendar, remembered which relatives needed birthday cards, and knew that if Mira said she wasn't hungry, I should still order an extra side of fries. For a long time, I thought love was noticing small things before they became problems. I thought it was making life softer for the person you chose. I just didn't realize I was the only one still choosing. Mira had not always been distant. That was part of what kept me trying for so long. Early in our marriage, she was warm in a way that made ordinary evenings feel important. She would write jokes on grocery receipts and leave them in my jacket pocket. She would lean against me while the coffee brewed, even when there were 3 empty stools right beside her. At night, she would ask ridiculous questions like whether I would rather fight 1 horse-sized duck or 100 duck-sized horses, then argue with my answer until we were both laughing. There was a wedding photo on our mantle from the moment right after the ceremony, when Mira had turned toward me because someone called her name. I wasn't looking at the camera. I was looking at her. For years, I straightened that frame every time I dusted. The change did not happen in one dramatic moment. There was no affair that I discovered, no screaming match that cracked the marriage open, no single betrayal I could point to and say, "There." That was the day it died. It happened through small disappearances. Mira stopped asking about my day. She started wearing earbuds after dinner, even when she wasn't listening to anything. I knew because sometimes I could see the battery warning flash on her phone, but the earbuds stayed in. Date nights became things I planned, and she canceled. The first few times, there were reasonable explanations. A headache, a long day, her friend Riley needed to talk. She had forgotten she agreed to help her mother with something. I never wanted to be the husband who treated one canceled dinner like a betrayal, so I said it was fine. Then, fine became the atmosphere of our house. One Friday, I made a reservation at a small restaurant Mira had mentioned twice. I confirmed the time with her that morning. She sent back a heart and wrote, "Looking forward to it." At 6 o'clock, while I was changing my shirt, she texted from the living room. "Can we skip tonight? I'm drained." I walked out and found her stretched across the couch scrolling through Riley's vacation pictures. "Are you okay?" I asked. "I'm tired." "We can go somewhere casual." I said I'm tired, Julian. The edge in her voice made me stop. "Okay," I said. "I'll cancel." She nodded without looking up. I ordered takeout for both of us. Her food sat untouched on the counter until almost midnight because Riley called and invited her out for drinks. Mira somehow found the energy to shower, change, and leave in under 20 minutes. When she came home, she posted an old picture of us from dinner the previous month. In the photo, she was leaning into me, smiling at the camera. What nobody could see was that she had spent most of that meal answering Riley's texts and had barely spoken to me. Her caption said, "Still my favorite date." I stared at it in bed while she slept with her back to me. I told myself social media wasn't real life. I did not yet understand that Mira preferred the version of our marriage that existed in pictures because pictures never asked anything of her. I tried talking to her the next morning. "I miss you," I said. She was pouring coffee into the smaller mug I had set out for her. "I'm right here." "You know what I mean." She sighed. "Can we not do this first thing in the morning? When should we do it?" "Not when you're making everything heavy." That became another pattern. Every time I tried to talk before the problem got bigger, she accused me of making it bigger. If I said I missed feeling close to her, I was needy. If I asked her to put down her phone for 20 minutes, I was demanding emotional labor. If I asked whether something was wrong, I was pressuring her to manage my feelings. If I suggested counseling, I was turning normal marriage problems into a crisis. The language sounded reasonable enough that I started doubting myself. I read articles about giving a partner space. I listened to podcasts about attachment and communication. I tried approaching her gently, directly, casually, and not at all. Nothing changed. At one point, I stopped initiating anything for a week. No dinner plans, no reminders, no attempts to start a conversation after work, no asking whether she wanted to watch something together. I wanted to know whether she would notice my absence as a husband or only my absence as a service? For 6 days, she said nothing. On the 7th, she walked into the kitchen holding her phone. Did you forget the barbecue? What barbecue? My parents' barbecue next Saturday. I knew exactly which one she meant. The invitation had been sitting in our shared calendar for 2 weeks. Usually, I would accept for both of us, ask what we should bring, buy the ingredients, and remind Mira the night before. I didn't respond. I said, "Why not?" "Because it's your family." She blinked. "You always handle the calendar. I wanted to see whether you would." Her face tightened. "That's childish. Did you notice anything else I stopped doing this week?" She stared at me for a moment. Then she said, "I'm not playing this game," and walked away. That answer hurt more than I expected. She had noticed the missing RSVP. She had not noticed the missing me. Our 9th anniversary was approaching, and Mira forgot the date until her mother mentioned it over the phone. I heard the conversation because Mira had it on speaker while searching through the refrigerator. Her mother said, "Do you two have big plans?" Mira glanced at me, then smiled into her voice. Julian always comes up with something. After she hung up, she opened the refrigerator again as if the conversation had settled the matter. "You want me to plan it?" I asked. "That's kind of your thing. Remembering our anniversary?" She closed the refrigerator. "Planning dates. You forgot." "I didn't forget. I've just had a lot going on." "What do you want to do?" She shrugged. "Somewhere nice. We should take pictures. We barely have any recent ones together." That was what she cared about. Not time together. Evidence of time together. I booked a restaurant because, at that point, habit was stronger than dignity. A week later, after another failed conversation, I scheduled couples counseling. I expected Mira to refuse. Instead, she agreed, which gave me hope I probably should not have had. Dr. Reed was in her 50s, calm without being soft, and good at letting silence become uncomfortable enough that people eventually told the truth. During our 3rd session, she asked us a simple question. "What does participation in this marriage look like to each of you?" I answered first. Conversation. Kindness. Making plans together sometimes. Following through when we agree to work on something. Affection that is freely given, not demanded. Being able to say we're hurt without the other person treating it like an accusation. Dr. Reed nodded and turned to Mira. Mira crossed one leg over the other. "I don't want marriage to become a checklist." "Neither do I said. "But right now there isn't even a pulse." Mira looked at Dr. Reed. "This is what he does. He uses dramatic language, and then I'm supposed to reassure him." Dr. Reed did not take the bait. "What are you willing to do to improve the relationship?" she asked. "I came here." "That is attendance," Dr. Reed said. "I'm asking about participation." Myra's jaw tightened. "I shouldn't have to perform affection because Julian feels insecure." "I'm not asking you to perform," I said. "I'm asking whether you still want to be married to me." "That's pressure." "It's a question. It's a loaded question." Dr. Reed leaned forward slightly. "This is not a question of owed physical intimacy," she said. "No one owes physical intimacy. It is a question of whether both partners are willing to participate in emotional repair. Julian is responsible for how he responds to your boundaries. Mira, you are responsible for what you are asking him to carry." Mira went quiet. At the end of the session, Dr. Reed gave us a simple exercise. Each of us was supposed to write down 3 things we were willing to do during the next week to improve trust and connection. Nothing sexual, nothing dramatic. Mine were to listen without interrupting, plan one low-pressure evening together, and stop trying to solve every difficult feeling immediately. Mira never did hers. The summary email from Dr. Reed arrived that afternoon. Mira left it unopened. That evening, I found her in the kitchen standing beside the counter, scrolling through her phone. The wedding photo on the mantel was visible through the doorway. I had cleaned that morning and, for the first time in 9 years, had not straightened it. "I need an answer," I said. Mira did not look up. "About what?" "Whether you're willing to work on this." "I went to counseling." "You were physically in the room." She put her phone down. "I'm not doing this again. We haven't done it once." Her eyes hardened. "What exactly do you want from me?" "I want a wife who speaks to me like I matter. I want honesty. I want some kind of affection that isn't only for a photograph. I want you to follow through when we agree to work on the marriage. I want to stop feeling like a problem for noticing that you've left." Mira folded her arms. "I don't owe you intimacy." The room went very still. I had expected defensiveness. I had not expected relief in her voice, like she had finally found the sentence that would end the discussion forever. "You're right," I said. Her expression shifted. For half a second, she looked relieved. Then I continued. "You don't owe me your body. You don't owe me forced affection. You don't owe me a conversation you don't want to have. Good. But I don't owe you fake anniversary dinners. I don't owe you family photos where I pretend I'm loved. I don't owe you explanations when people ask why we're falling apart. I don't owe you endless errands, automatic forgiveness, or a lifetime commitment to a marriage you refuse to participate in." Her face changed completely. "So now you're punishing me for having boundaries." "No, I'm setting one. You promised to be my husband, and you promised to be my wife. That doesn't mean I have to perform for you." "I agree. It also doesn't mean I have to perform for everyone else." Mira gave a short, disbelieving laugh. "You're being cruel." "I'm being honest." She picked up her phone and walked out of the kitchen. That night, I moved into the spare bedroom. I took my pillow, the charger from my side of the bed, a few shirts, and enough clothes to fill half of the small dresser. The lamp in that room had flickered for years. I had always meant to replace it. Mira stood in the doorway watching me. "This is dramatic," she said. "No, dramatic would be pretending nothing changed. You'll cool off." "I'm not angry enough to cool off." That seemed to unsettle her more than if I had shouted. The next morning, I made coffee for myself. I reached automatically for Myra's smaller mug, stopped, and put it back. She came downstairs 10 minutes later and stared at the empty counter. "You didn't make any for me?" "There's coffee in the machine." She looked at me as if I had said something deliberately insulting. "You always pour mine." "I know." I left for the day with my coffee and no argument. I did not stop handling shared responsibilities. I paid my half of the mortgage and utilities. I kept our insurance current. I did not block her access to anything jointly owned or threaten her financially. I was careful because I did not want my boundary to become a weapon. I stopped doing the optional things Mira had started treating as obligations. I canceled the anniversary reservation. I stopped buying gifts for her relatives and signing both our names. I removed myself as the default person for her car service reminders. When she sent me a Venmo request for a personal purchase she had made, something I would normally cover without asking, I declined it with the note, "Personal expense." She walked into the spare room less than a minute later. "Seriously?" I was sitting on the edge of the bed trying to make the lamp stop flickering. "What?" "You declined $38. It was your purchase. You've never cared before." "I cared. I just didn't make you ask." "So this is about money now?" "No. It's about automatic access to my effort." She crossed her arms. "You're acting like a roommate. That's what we've been for a while. I'm just not hiding it now." Myra's expression was more irritated than hurt. That became the strangest part of those first 2 weeks. She did not seem devastated that I had moved out of our bedroom. She was angry that her life no longer ran smoothly around her. Her car appointment did not magically appear on the calendar, so she missed it. Her aunt's birthday arrived, and there was no wrapped gift on the kitchen counter. A warranty call she had asked me to make stayed on a sticky note beside her laptop. At dinner one night, she looked at the note and said, "Are you ever going to handle that?" "No." "You said you would." "I said I would 3 weeks ago. Then you said I wasn't entitled to your effort. I accepted that. You need to accept that you aren't entitled to mine." She pushed her plate away. "This is exactly what I mean. You're transactional. I spent 9 years doing these things without keeping score. And now you are." "No. Now I'm noticing there was never a second player." A few days later, Jace texted me. Jace was Myra's older brother. He was protective, quick to react, and usually fair after he calmed down. Unfortunately, Mira had reached him before I did. "Marriage doesn't mean you own my sister." I read the message twice. Then I replied, "I agree." His response came immediately. "Then stop punishing her because she said no." I sat in my car outside a grocery store, staring at the screen. "That is not what is happening." "She told us enough." "No, I thought. She told you exactly enough." I typed 3 different replies and deleted all of them. Anything defensive would sound guilty. Anything angry would become proof. Finally, I wrote, "I'm not discussing private details by text. I have never demanded physical intimacy from Mira. The problem is broader, and she knows that." He did not answer. Arthur called 2 days later. Arthur was an old family friend who had known Mira since she was a child. He had the kind of calm voice that made people confess things they had not planned to say. Mira seems hurt, he said. I'm sure she is. She says you've withdrawn from the marriage. She's right. There was a pause. Julian, I know marriage can get complicated, but be careful that you're not using distance as punishment. I'm not trying to punish her. What are you trying to do? Stop lying. Arthur was quiet for a moment. I hope you two can handle this privately. So did I. Riley was less subtle. She posted a series of vague comments online about men who only respected boundaries when boundaries benefited them. One of them said, "A wife does not owe her husband access." Full stop. I agreed with the sentence. I hated the lie built around it. Mira had found the perfect half-truth. She could tell people I had changed after she refused physical intimacy, and every other part of the story disappeared. The canceled counseling work disappeared. The months of contempt disappeared. The public affection that existed only when a camera was present disappeared. Her expectation that I would keep planning, paying, protecting, and smiling disappeared. I became the kind of man everyone was right to condemn. The worst part was that I had spent years terrified of being seen that way. It was why I had swallowed so much. Every time I wanted to say, "This is not enough for me," I heard the possible response before Mira spoke it. Needy. Controlling. Entitled. So I had kept proving I was none of those things by asking for less and less, until there was almost nothing left of me in the marriage. I called my younger sister, Elise. She answered on the second ring. "You sound terrible," she said. "Good to hear your people skills haven't changed." "Those are my people skills." "What happened?" I told her everything. Not every private detail, but enough. The counseling session. The spare bedroom. Jace's message. Arthur's call. Riley's posts. Elise listened without interrupting. When I finished, she said, "Respecting her no doesn't mean deleting yours." I leaned back against the driver's seat. That sounds obvious when you say it. It was obvious before I said it. I don't want to become someone who withdraws care to get his way. Then don't. Pay what you're responsible for. Be civil. Don't threaten her. Don't demand affection. But stop calling self-erasure kindness. I keep thinking maybe I should try harder. You keep calling it patience, but it looks a lot like disappearing. That landed harder than anything Dr. Reed had said. Elise continued, "You're not asking to own her. You're asking not to be used. Those are different things." After we hung up, I sat in the car for another 10 minutes. Then I went home and wrote down what had happened. Not because I was building a case for a dramatic confrontation. I wrote it down because Mira had become skilled at making every individual incident sound small. A canceled dinner was small. An ignored conversation was small. An unfinished counseling exercise was small. A misleading comment to her brother was small. Together, they were the marriage. I kept the counseling summary email from Dr. Reed. It used neutral language about communication, mutual effort, and emotional repair. I saved Myra's text from the week before asking me to act normal at her parents' barbecue. I saved the cancellation email from the anniversary restaurant. I did not search her phone. I did not access her accounts. I did not record her. I did not collect private sexual details as evidence. I just stopped throwing away the pieces of reality she kept editing out. The anniversary was on a Saturday. On Thursday evening, Mira walked into the kitchen while I was washing a coffee cup. "Did you confirm the reservation?" she asked. "I canceled it." She stared at me. "What? You knew that?" "No, I didn't. I told you last week." "I thought you were making a point." "I was making a decision." Her eyes narrowed. "My mother already knows we're going." "Then tell her we're not. It'll look strange." "That's because things are strange. People already know we had plans." I dried my hands. "You want to go to dinner with me?" She hesitated. That hesitation answered the question. "I want us to act like adults," she said. "We can act like adults at home. It's our anniversary." "You forgot our anniversary." "I didn't forget. You remembered after your mother reminded you." "That's not the point." "What is the point?" Mira looked toward the living room, then lowered her voice. "The point is people are already asking questions." There it was. Not us. People. Her phone was lying on the kitchen counter beside her purse. The screen lit up. A message from Riley appeared on the lock screen. "Just get him to show up. If he pays and smiles, you still have him." I did not touch the phone. I did not need to. Mira saw my expression and grabbed it so quickly she knocked her keys onto the floor. For a few seconds, neither of us spoke. "Is that what tonight is?" I asked. A test? It's not like that. Then explain it. Riley doesn't understand everything. She seems to understand the goal. Mira shoved the phone into her purse. She was joking. You grabbed the phone like it was a live grenade. You're reading one message without context. Give me the context. Mira looked away. I waited. Finally, she said, I wanted to know whether you would still show up as my husband. Without you showing up as my wife. That's not what I said. It's what you've done. She exhaled sharply. If you love someone, you show up even when it's hard. Showing up is not the same as being used. You promised unconditional love. I promised commitment. I did not promise unlimited access to my labor while you tested how little you could give back. Her expression twisted, part anger and part panic. I was trying to see if your love actually meant something. You wanted to see whether I would pay and smile. That's Riley's wording. It's your test. I needed to know you weren't only good to me because you expected something. I spent years being good to you while getting almost nothing back. And now you're keeping score. No, I'm reading the scoreboard after the game ended. She shook her head. You're making me sound manipulative. I'm describing what you did. You're twisting it. Explain it without using the word love as a leash. She opened her mouth, but nothing came out. That silence told me more than a confession would have. I walked out of the kitchen and closed the spare bedroom door behind me. The next morning, Mira texted me from across the house. My family is having dinner Sunday. Arthur and Riley will be there. Please act normal. We can talk after. I stared at the message. Then I saved it. I did not want to go. Every sensible part of me said to decline, stay home, and let Mira manage her own explanations. Then Jace sent another message. Mom says you're coming Sunday. I hope you can be civil. I read that one twice too. Mira had not invited me to dinner. She had summoned me to a trial where she had already submitted the only evidence. I decided to go, but not to perform. Before Sunday, I met with Dr. Reed alone. I told her I was considering separation and wanted to make sure I was not using money, silence, or withdrawal as leverage. She asked me what outcome I was trying to force. None, I said. That's what scares me. I don't think I'm trying to make Mira change anymore. Then what are you trying to do? Stop disappearing. Dr. Reed nodded. Boundaries define what you will accept and what you will do, she said. They do not require another person to maintain a false reality. Continue meeting fair, shared obligations. Do not use practical support to coerce emotional or physical closeness. But you are not obligated to publicly represent a marriage that does not exist privately. I asked whether I could use the counseling summary if Mira accused me publicly of punishing her for refusing intimacy. You may accurately describe your own participation and the issues discussed, she said. Do not misrepresent my conclusions as a judgment against either of you. I don't need a judgment. What do you need? The full sentence. She understood. On Sunday evening, Mira came downstairs dressed as if we were attending someone else's anniversary. Her hair was done, her makeup was careful, and she wore the earrings I had given her 3 years earlier. She looked at me in a plain dark shirt and frowned. Could you change? No. Julian, I'm dressed appropriately. You look like you're going to a meeting. That's how tonight feels. She picked up her phone. Can we take one picture before we leave? No. Her eyes flashed. Why are you making everything difficult? I'm not taking a happy anniversary picture. We don't have to post it. Then why do you need it? She did not answer. At the restaurant, Mira transformed before we reached the table. She touched my arm when Arthur stood to greet us. She leaned close when her mother raised her phone. She laughed too loudly at something Jace said and rested her hand near mine as if it belonged there. I had not seen that version of her directed at me in months. It made me sadder than the coldness. Riley sat across from us. She gave me a tight smile that did not reach her eyes. Arthur was there with his wife. Jace sat near Myra's parents. The table was large enough that every conversation felt public. Myra's mother asked us to stand together for a photo. Mira moved closer immediately. I stayed where I was. Come on, she whispered. Can we just look normal tonight? That depends on whether you tell the truth. Her smile did not move, but her eyes went flat. The photo was taken anyway. There was a visible space between us. Dinner began with forced conversation. Mira talked about a show she had been watching. Jace discussed a home repair. Arthur asked me about a book I had mentioned months earlier. Riley kept steering the conversation toward relationships, boundaries, and how people change when they stop getting what they want. Nobody said my name, but every sentence pointed at me. I ate slowly and waited. About halfway through dinner, Arthur set down his fork. I'm going to ask something, and I hope both of you will forgive me. Myra's shoulders tightened. Arthur looked between us. You two seem very far apart. Mira says you're working through things. Julian, you've barely spoken. What happened? I don't think this is the place, I said. Mira answered before anyone could respond. He's been struggling with the idea that marriage doesn't mean I owe him access to me. The table went silent. Jace looked at me with open disgust. Riley leaned back in her chair, almost satisfied. Myra's mother stared at her plate. I felt heat rise into my face, but beneath it was something colder and steadier. This was the moment Mira had built. She had brought me there, touched my arm for photographs, and waited until the right audience was present to reduce our entire marriage to the one accusation she knew I could not ignore. I placed my glass on the table. She's right about one thing, I said. She does not owe me access to her body. Mira looked surprised. I have never said otherwise. I have never demanded physical intimacy from her, and I am not angry because she said no. Riley opened her mouth, but I kept going. The part she left out is that she also stopped showing up as a partner. No conversation, no counseling work, no affection of any kind unless someone had a camera, no honesty about whether she still wanted the marriage. Then she asked me to keep planning, paying, covering for her, and acting happy so none of you would notice. Myra's face went pale. Julian, stop. I will not discuss private physical details. I will discuss the lie you told about me. You're humiliating me. You made this public when you invited everyone to judge a version of me that wasn't true. I took out my phone. I had promised myself I would show only what was necessary. First, I opened Myra's text from Friday. Please act normal. We can talk after. I turned the screen toward Arthur and Jace. Then I showed the message I had written down word for word after it appeared on Riley's lock screen notification. I did not have a screenshot because I had not touched Myra's phone, and I said so. Riley messaged her, just get him to show up. If he pays and smiles, you still have him. Mira admitted she was testing whether I would keep acting like a husband no matter how little she participated in the marriage. Riley sat forward. That is completely out of context. What is the context? I asked. She was upset. What is the context of if he pays and smiles, you still have him? Riley's mouth tightened. Mira reached for my arm. This time there was no camera pointed at us. Please don't do this. I moved my arm away. I opened Dr. Reed's summary. This is the counseling follow-up. It says the issue was mutual participation, communication, and emotional repair. It specifically says this was not about owed physical intimacy. I completed the work we agreed to do. Mira did not. Mira shook her head. You're using therapy against me. No, I'm correcting the story you used against me. Jace held out his hand. Let me see. I passed him the phone. He read the summary, then the text from Mira asking me to act normal. His expression changed. Not all at once, but enough. I took out the printed anniversary cancellation email from my pocket. It was the only paper I had brought. Mira forgot our anniversary until her mother reminded her. She still expected me to book a restaurant because planning was my thing. When I canceled it after moving into the spare room, she wanted me to restore the reservation because people knew we had plans. Myra's mother looked up. Is that true? Myra's voice went sharp. That is not the whole story. Then tell the whole story, I said. I was overwhelmed. For years. I needed space. You were allowed space. You made me feel guilty for it. I asked whether you still wanted to be married. That question was pressure. Arthur had been watching Mira carefully. He asked one plain question. Did you really ask him to act happy tonight, so we wouldn't know? Mira looked at him. Her lips parted, but no answer came. Arthur's expression changed. That is not a small omission, he said. Riley jumped in. You're all missing the point. A wife doesn't owe her husband access. Full stop. I agree, I said. If boundaries matter, then mine matter too. Riley rolled her eyes. You're withdrawing support because she wouldn't give you what you wanted. I am paying every fair shared obligation. I have not threatened her, demanded affection, or blocked her access to anything. I stopped buying gifts for her relatives. I stopped arranging her appointments. I stopped paying personal expenses automatically. I stopped telling people we were fine. That's petty, Riley said. No. Petty would be doing those things badly to punish her. I stopped doing them because she told me effort was not owed, then acted shocked that mine was voluntary too. Jace returned my phone. I don't like that this is happening at dinner, he said. Neither do I. Mira laughed once, but there was no humor in it. You came prepared. I came because you told everyone enough to convict me and invited me to sit through it. I never said you forced me. You told them I changed because you refused physical intimacy. Because you did. I changed after you told me you owed me no intimacy, affection, or effort, while expecting me to maintain the public and practical benefits of a healthy marriage. That is different, and you know it. Her eyes filled with tears. For years, tears would have ended the conversation. I would have softened my voice, moved closer, apologized for my timing, and taken responsibility for making her feel bad. This time, I stayed where I was. I didn't stop loving you because you said no. I said. I started leaving because you wanted the benefits of marriage without the partnership. Mira wiped beneath one eye. So that's it. You're leaving me because I had boundaries. I'm leaving the version of this marriage where only yours count. No one spoke. I placed the canceled reservation email on the table in front of Mira. I'm not here to punish her, I said. I'm here to stop lying for her. Then I stood, thanked Arthur for asking the question, and left. I did not slam the restaurant door. I did not wait in the parking lot to see who followed me. I got in my car, drove home, and sat in the spare bedroom with the flickering lamp until my hands stopped shaking. For the first hour, my phone lit up almost continuously. Mira called 7 times. Her mother called twice. Jace sent one message. I reacted to the version I was given. I shouldn't have. I'm sorry. Arthur sent another. Half-truths become lies when they are used to recruit judges. Take care of yourself tonight. Riley sent nothing. Mira came home after midnight. I heard the front door, her shoes on the floor, the refrigerator open, and then silence outside the spare room. She knocked once. Can we talk? Not tonight. You embarrassed me in front of my family. You embarrassed me in front of them first. You were just more careful about the wording. That's not fair. I agree. None of this has been fair. She stood outside the door for another minute. Then she walked away. The next morning, the wedding photo was face down on the mantel. I did not put it back. The fallout was not clean. Some relatives believed me immediately. Others thought I had been right about the marriage and wrong about the dinner. Myra's aunt sent a message saying private problems should remain private. I replied that I agreed, but false public accusations could not be corrected in silence. Jace called 2 days later. I owe you an apology, he said. You already sent one. That was a text. I want to say it. I waited. I reacted to the version I was given. That's on me. I still don't like how it came out. Neither do I. He sighed. Mira says you had been keeping a record. I wrote down events after she started telling people I was punishing her for refusing sex. She didn't use that exact word. She didn't need to. No, he said quietly. She didn't. He told me Mira had admitted the test, though she still described it as an attempt to understand whether my love was unconditional. What did you say? I asked. I asked whether her love was being tested too. I almost laughed. How did that go? She stopped talking to me. Arthur spoke to Mira separately. I only knew because he later called and told me he had encouraged her to correct the story with anyone she had misled. I'm not asking everyone to take my side, I said. I'm asking them to stop repeating a lie. That is reasonable, he said. Riley remained defensive. She claimed her message had been meant to reassure Mira that I would show up for the relationship. Jace asked why payment and smiling were part of her definition. She had no good answer. Mira stopped posting vague comments online. She also removed the old photo captioned, "Still my favorite date." At home, the practical consequences became visible. Mira asked me whether I had scheduled the follow-up for her car. No. You know the place. So do you? She stood in the kitchen holding her keys. So you're just done helping me? I'm done being treated like help instead of a husband. She looked away. Another day, she asked whether I had ordered a birthday gift for her mother. No. But it's from both of us. It shouldn't be. We are separated. We haven't decided that. I have. Her face tightened. You don't get to decide that alone. I get to decide where I sleep, what I participate in, and whether I continue pretending. You're enjoying this. No. That was the truth. There was satisfaction and clarity, but no joy in watching a 9-year marriage come apart. I did not enjoy seeing Mira struggle with tasks I had once handled. I only refused to confuse her inconvenience with my cruelty. I made a spreadsheet of shared expenses, divided them fairly, and sent it to her. I transferred my personal subscriptions and changed the payment method on expenses that belonged only to me. I did not drain accounts or hide money. I scheduled a consultation to understand separation and divorce options, then left the packet face down in the spare bedroom drawer. I continued individual counseling with Dr. Reed. One afternoon, she asked how the house felt. Quiet, I said. Was it not quiet before? It was. This is different. How? Before, I was waiting for the quiet to end. And now? Now I'm not. That realization followed me home. I made coffee the next morning and poured 1 cup. I sat at the kitchen table while the machine clicked as it cooled. The house felt strange without my attention stretched toward Myra's needs. At first, peace felt like neglecting something. Then it started to feel like space. Mira tried several approaches over the next few weeks. She cried. She accused me of abandoning her. She said I had become cold. She said marriage vows were supposed to survive hard seasons. I asked whether she considered the previous 2 years a season. She did not answer. One night, she stood in the spare bedroom doorway while I folded laundry. I said things badly, she said. You did more than say things badly. I was confused. You were clear enough when you told everyone your version. I felt cornered. By what? By your expectations. What expectation? That I had to keep proving I loved you. I set down a shirt. Mira, I asked you to talk to me. I asked you to do the counseling exercise. I asked whether you still wanted the marriage. You treated every request for participation like an attempt to control you. I didn't know what I wanted. You knew you wanted me to keep acting like your husband. She looked at the floor. I was scared that if I stopped giving you what you wanted, you would leave. You stopped giving anything, then tested whether I would stay. I needed reassurance. You used deprivation to demand proof. That sounds horrible when you say it like that. It felt horrible living it. She began to cry. I did not comfort her. I did not attack her either. I'm not saying you owed me physical intimacy, I said. You didn't. You still don't. But you cannot refuse every form of closeness, every attempt at repair, every honest conversation, and then call my departure punishment. She wiped her face with her sleeve. What do you want me to do? For now, tell the truth. To who? To everyone you told the half story. Her expression hardened again. You want me to humiliate myself. I want you to correct what you used to humiliate me. I can't control what people think. You controlled what they heard. She left without agreeing. That told me where we stood. 3 weeks after the dinner, Mira called while I was out buying groceries. We still lived in the same house, but by then we mostly communicated by text. I almost let it go to voicemail. I answered. What happened? Nothing happened. Then why are you calling? There was a pause. I didn't think you would take it this far. I stopped beside my car. I didn't go far. You moved out of our room. You split everything. You talked to a lawyer. I got information. You exposed me to my family. I corrected a lie. You won't even make coffee for me. The last sentence was so small and so revealing that I closed my eyes. You don't miss the coffee, I said. You miss knowing I would make it. That's not fair. You keep saying that whenever the cost of your choices becomes visible. Her breathing changed. Do you still love me? Yes. She was silent. I think she had expected another answer. Then why are you doing this? Because love is not the same as consent to be used. You think I used you. I know you did. I was trying to see if you would stay. I didn't go far, Mira. I stopped walking towards someone who had been standing still for years. She started crying quietly. I don't know how to fix this. For the first time, I believe you. What is that supposed to mean? It means I'm done fixing everything before you have to touch it. She did not speak. I continued. There is a path to attempt repair. Not a promise that we reconcile. An attempt. What path? Real counseling. Not attendance. Participation. You correct the story with the people you misled. You acknowledge that your boundaries did not erase mine. And you show through action that you understand marriage cannot survive when one person refuses every form of closeness, respect, honesty, and effort. You're giving me conditions. Yes. That sounds controlling. No. I'm telling you what I require to remain in the marriage. You are free to refuse. And then what? Then I proceed with the separation. You make it sound so simple. It isn't simple. It is clear. She was quiet for a long time. What about intimacy? I will never demand it. That was never the issue. But you said affection. I said I will not live indefinitely in a marriage with no warmth, no emotional presence, and no effort to repair. You do not have to provide those things. I do not have to remain married without them. She whispered, I need time. You've had years. That's not fair. No, I said. But it's true. We ended the call without resolving anything. A week later, Mira sent a message to her family. I did not write it for her or approve it in advance. Jace forwarded it to me. She admitted that she had framed our conflict as if I were angry about physical access. She acknowledged that I had asked for counseling, communication, and mutual effort, and that she had asked me to act normal in public while refusing to address the marriage privately. She did not mention Riley's message directly, but she said she had treated my continued devotion as proof I could be counted on without considering whether I was being cared for in return. It was not a perfect apology. It was the first honest thing she had done in a long time. She also scheduled another appointment with Dr. Reed. I agreed to attend one session to discuss whether a structured reconciliation process was possible. I made it clear that attending was not the same as moving back into the bedroom, combining personal expenses again, planning dates, or pausing the legal consultation. During that session, Dr. Reed asked Mira what had changed. Mira stared at her hands. I thought unconditional love meant he would stay no matter what I gave back, she said. I didn't say it that bluntly to myself, but that was what I expected. Dr. Reed looked at her. And now? Now I think I was asking him to prove love by tolerating being alone. I felt something in my chest loosen, but not enough to call it forgiveness. Dr. Reed turned to me. What do you need before you would consider rebuilding? Consistency, I said. Not one apology. Not public warmth. Not a panic response because separation became real. Mira nodded slowly. I understand. I don't think you do yet, I said. But maybe you're starting to. For about a month, she did seem to start. She attended individual counseling. She handled her own appointments without making comments about how I used to do them. She apologized to Jace and Arthur without blaming me for the dinner. She stopped asking me to take photos together. Once, when her mother called and asked whether we were back to normal, Mira said, No. Julian is giving me room to show whether I can be honest. That mattered to me. But the moment she realized improvement did not guarantee immediate reconciliation, the old pattern returned. After our third joint session, she followed me into the parking lot. How long am I supposed to keep proving myself? She asked. That is the wrong question. I corrected the story. I'm going to counseling. I gave you what you asked for. You've been doing it for 5 weeks. So nothing counts. It counts. It just doesn't erase 2 years. She folded her arms. You said there was a path. A path is not a receipt. You don't complete 3 tasks and get the marriage back. Her face hardened in the familiar way. So you were never serious about fixing this. There it was again. My boundary became the offense the moment it required patience from her. I was serious, I said. I am also paying attention. To what? To whether you want to rebuild trust or just restore your old life. She walked away without answering. That evening, she told Dr. Reed by email that joint counseling was making her feel judged and that she needed a break. She did not schedule another individual appointment. 2 days later, she asked whether I could start handling the shared calendar again because this separation limbo is inefficient. I knew then. Not because people cannot relapse into old habits. They can. Not because 5 weeks of effort meant nothing. It meant something. But Mira still viewed repair as a temporary performance she should be rewarded for, not a different way of living. I met with the attorney again and asked her to prepare the divorce filing. When I told Mira, she stood in the kitchen beside the drawer where the spare charger still sat. You said we had a chance, she whispered. We did. And 5 weeks wasn't enough for you. 5 weeks was enough to show me that you were willing to change while you thought change would quickly restore your access to my effort. That's not fair. No, but it is clear. She looked toward the mantel. The wedding photo was still face down. Do you hate me? No. Then how can you do this? Because not hating you is not the same as trusting you with the rest of my life. She cried, but she did not accuse me of punishing her for refusing intimacy. At least that part of the lie was finally gone. We worked through the separation with attorneys and a mediator. I kept paying my fair share until the financial agreements were signed. We divided household items without turning every coffee mug into a symbol. Mira kept the smaller one. I took the new lamp from the spare bedroom. Jace helped her move some boxes. Elise helped me with mine. Arthur did not take sides, but he called once to say that telling the truth had probably cost both of us less than continuing the performance would have. Riley never apologized to me. She and Mira remained friends, though Mira later told Jace they no longer discussed her relationships the way they used to. That was their business. The last time Mira and I stood together in the house, she opened the mantle drawer and took out the wedding photo. "What do you want to do with this?" she asked. I looked at the younger versions of us. I still remembered exactly what it felt like to look at her that day and believe noticing the small things would always be enough. "You keep it," I said. She nodded. There was no final hug, no last-minute promise, no dramatic collapse. We locked the door, checked it twice out of habit, and left separately. The divorce was filed the following week. I still make coffee in the morning. Sometimes I reach for a second mug before I remember there is no one waiting for it. The motion no longer feels like grief every time. Mostly, it reminds me how easily care can become invisible when only one person is expected to provide it. Mira was right that she did not owe me intimacy, but I was right that I did not owe her a marriage built on pretending. If you like the stories, don't forget to leave a comment and support the channel by subscribing. See you in the upcoming stories.